Declassified. The White Hell. Introduction. The Silence of the Green Gold. Lapland, northern Finland, January 1984. There is a silence in the Finnish taiga that is unlike anywhere else on Earth. At -40 degrees Celsius, sound travels differently. Trees snap like gunshots. Breath turns to ice crystals instantly. It is a landscape of blinding white and deep, bruised purple shadows. The locals call the forest the Green Gold, but to outsiders it has another name, the White Hell. History remembers the Winter War of 1939, where Finnish farmers on skis decimated the Red Army. Moscow remembered it too, but in the winter of 1984, the Kremlin forgot the lesson. They sent their best man, a Spetsnaz sniper, tracker trained in the Urals across the border, on a covert retrieval mission. He was armed with the finest Soviet technology. He was a ghost. He was the predator, or so he thought. What he didn't know was that the moment his ski crossed the borderline, he hadn't entered a forest. He had entered a living trap. He was being watched, not by a military unit, but by a silent pack, a group of reindeer herders and old hunters who knew every snowflake, every shift in the wind, and every way a man can die in the cold. This is the story of Operation Polar Vortex, a mission that turned into a primal hunt where the most dangerous weapon wasn't a rifle, but the winter itself. File number 01, The Intruder. Subject: Major Lev Z. Codename: Borealis. Affiliation: Major Spetsnaz. Unit 2, 9155. Mission: Retrieval of Object 9. Major Lev Z was not a conscript. He was a legend within the GRU. His dossier describes him as a winter specialist. He had trained in Siberia. He could lie motionless in a snowdrift for 12 hours. He was a master of camouflage. The mission: a Soviet spy satellite prototype, Object 9, had malfunctioned and crashed 15 kilometers inside Finnish territory, in the desolate wilderness of Inari. It contained encryption codes that could not fall into Western hands. Lev's orders were simple. 1. Infiltrate the border on skis. 2. Locate the crash site. 3. Retrieve the black box. 4. Leave no witnesses. He carried a suppressed Dragunov SVDS rifle, white winter fatigues, and 3 days of rations. He moved at night, under the cover of a blizzard. He was arrogant. He believed that technology and Spetsnaz discipline could conquer nature. The first mistake: Lev assumed the wilderness was empty. But in Lapland, the wilderness is the livelihood of the Sami people and the local Finns. Lev didn't see the tripwire. It wasn't a military wire. It was a reindeer gut string strung between 2 birch trees by an old herder named Eero. It didn't trigger a mine. It triggered a wooden clacker, a simple noisemaker used to herd animals. Click, clack. The sound echoed through the valley. Lev froze. He scanned the trees with his night vision scope. Nothing. But miles away, in a log cabin, Eero looked up from his coffee. He knew the sound, and he knew his reindeer were in the south pasture. Something else had tripped the line. File number 02, The Silent Pack. The men who came for Lev were not soldiers. They were not police. They were the Gray Coats. Led by Eero, 72 years old, a veteran of the Continuation War, and his 2 sons, Jari and Mikko. They didn't have night vision. They didn't have Kevlar. They had sisu, the untranslatable Finnish concept of stoic, gritty determination. And they had bolt-action hunting rifles passed down from their grandfathers. The tactics of the locals. The Finns knew they couldn't beat a Spetsnaz sniper in a firefight. Lev's rifle was semi-automatic. Theirs were bolt-action. Lev had body armor. They had wool. So, Eero made a decision. "We do not hunt him like a man," Eero told his sons. "We hunt him like a wolverine. We tire him. We freeze him. We let the forest kill him." They moved on traditional wooden skis, which were longer and quieter than Lev's military fiberglass skis. They didn't use radios, which Lev could intercept. They used bird calls, the cry of the Siberian jay, to coordinate their movements. File number 03, the Phantom Chase. Day 2. Lev reached the crash site. He secured the black box. He felt triumphant. He turned back toward the border. Then, he saw it. On his own ski tracks, the tracks he had made coming in, someone had drawn a line across the snow with a stick. A warning. Lev spun around, raising his scope. Crack. A bullet hit the tree next to his head. It didn't come from behind. It came from everywhere. The echo in the dense pine forest made triangulation impossible. Lev dove into the snow. He waited for 30 minutes. Silence. He moved again. Crack. Another shot. This one shattered his ski pole. The herding. The Finns weren't trying to kill him yet. They were steering him. Every time Lev tried to move south toward the border, a warning shot forced him west deeper into the treacherous ravine country. They were cutting him off from escape. Lev realized he was being hunted. He deployed counter-tracking tactics. He walked backward. He circled back on his own tracks to ambush his pursuers. But when he lay in wait, watching his back trail, no one came. The Finns knew the terrain. They didn't follow his tracks. They cut across the ridges to get ahead of him. Lev was playing chess. They were playing the landscape. File number 04, the White Madness. Day 3. Temperature, -42 degrees Celsius. The psychological toll began to outweigh the physical danger. Lev couldn't light a fire. A fire would give away his position instantly. He had to sleep in the snow, shivering violently. The Finns, however, knew the secret of the rakovalkia, gap fire, a traditional log fire built in a way that it produces heat but almost no smoke and is hidden in a pit. Lev could smell the faint scent of burning wood and brewing coffee on the wind. It was torture. The sabotage. Lev dozed off for 10 minutes from exhaustion. When he woke up, his pack felt lighter. He checked his supplies. His rations were gone. His spare ammo was gone. They had been there. While he slept, camouflaged in white, someone had crawled within 5 feet of him, slit his pack, and stolen his food. They hadn't killed him. They wanted him to know they could have. This is when the Spetsnaz discipline cracked. Lev started shooting at shadows. He fired at a swaying branch. He fired at a fox. He screamed into the darkness. "Show yourselves, cowards." The only answer was the wind howling through the pines. File number 05, the Ice Trap. Day 4, the Endgame. Lev was delirious. Hypothermia was setting in. He abandoned stealth. He just wanted to run. He saw a frozen lake ahead, a flat, white expanse. If he could cross it, he could reach the border ridge. He checked the ice. It looked solid, thick snow cover. He didn't know that this was Lake Inari. He didn't know about the Vertipeka current spots where the underwater river keeps the ice dangerously thin, even in deep winter. The locals knew exactly where these death traps were, and they had herded him straight to one. The climax. Eero and his sons stood at the tree line, watching. They didn't raise their rifles. Lev skied out onto the lake. He was 200 meters out. 300 meters. He stopped to catch his breath. He looked back at the trees. He saw the 3 gray figures standing like statues. He raised his middle finger at them. Then, he pushed off his poles to sprint. The stress of the sudden movement cracked the thin ice. It wasn't a cinematic crack. It was a dull whump. The ice simply vanished beneath him. Lev fell into the black water. The struggle. The shock of -40 degrees Celsius water stops the heart. Lev thrashed. The heavy winter gear, the body armor, the rifle, it all became an anchor. He tried to claw his way onto the ice shelf, but the ice was wet and slick, and his hands were numb. From the shore, Eero watched through his binoculars. He watched the Russian struggle for 1 minute, 2 minutes. Then, the white head disappeared. The black hole in the ice remained, steaming in the cold air. File number 06. The cleanup. The Finns didn't leave the body. That would bring questions. They waited for the ice to freeze over, which took an hour. Then, using planks to distribute their weight, they retrieved the body of Major Lev Z. The find. They found the black box in his pack. He did what any sensible Finnish man would do. He threw the high-tech Soviet satellite component into the deepest part of the swamp, where the bog would swallow it forever. The body. They didn't bury Lev. The ground was too frozen. They tied him to a sled and dragged him back to the borderline. They propped him up against a border marker post, facing Russia. They put his rifle across his lap. It was a message. Return to sender. Conclusion. The ghost battle. The Soviet Union never officially acknowledged the loss of Major Lev Z. The Finnish government never acknowledged the incursion. It was a battle that never happened. But in the local taverns of Inari, the story is told in hushed tones. They talk about the winter hunter who came with guns and technology, and how he was beaten by 3 men with old rifles and a knowledge of the snow. The analysis. Lev Z was a perfect soldier. But he made the classic mistake of invaders throughout history. He fought the map, while the locals fought the land. He relied on his scope to see, while the Finns relied on their ears to listen. The forest of Finland is beautiful, but it is possessive. It protects its own. And as Eero reportedly said to his sons, as they walked away from the frozen corpse, the forest does not take sides, but it hates a stranger who does not ask permission to enter.